Okay, this is GACE 023, question 9. You're given a semicircular window, okay? And you're told that the area of the semicircular region, so this part right here, is 1/3 of the whole area, okay? Not obviously not drawn to scale. So that would be 1/3 of the area of basically all of these things. This whole window is 1/3, the top is 1/3 of it, okay? And then it wants you to figure out what's H to D. I think it might be helpful to look at it like this. And recognize that this is the semicircle. Okay? It is 1/3, and remember that that would be pi r squared divided by 2. But you'll notice that you don't have r. You are not given r. Instead, you're given d. And because you're not given any numbers here, it's a bad idea to introduce yet another variable. So instead of calling this r like we normally would, just say, well, r is the same as diameter over 2. So that's what we're going to use instead of r. Okay, is half of the diameter. And so the semicircle, again, that formula is pi r squared over 2. That would be, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the 2 or the 1/2 out here just because it's kind of ugly, because r is now d over 2 quantity squared, correct? Okay, so that's 1/2 pi r squared, which is 1/2 times pi times d over 2 squared. I'm just going to simplify that. That would be 1/2 pi times d squared over 4, which would be the same thing as pi d squared over 8. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to pause it and go back to this other one now. Okay, this whole region right here is equal to h, and let me just show you, is equal to h times d. Okay, h times d. So it's, I mean, you know that HD is the area here. The question is, how many of these regions right here, the semicircular region, would it take to equal the h times d region? Okay, and the answer is 2. It would take 2 of these to equal this. The reason that we're doing that is I have to set up some kind of equation because it's asking you to find the ratio of h to d, which means we have to figure out what is h in terms of d. So I'm going to say this. If I had 2 of these, I could equal 1 of these. Okay? So far, so good. If you have 2 of pi d squared over 8, that would be the same as, remember, because 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 8 4 times, pi d squared over 4 is equal to hd. And remember, I'm trying to figure out what is h. I don't have something that is h yet. So if I need h, I'm going to isolate it. Divide by d, divide by d. Remember, dividing by d is the same as 1 over d. And the reason I like that is because I can say, okay, one of those d's cancels, leaving one of the d's. So on this left-hand side, excuse me, I've got pi d over 4, cancels there, is equal to h. So far, so good? Pi times diameter over 4 equals h. So I know what h is, and I know what d is. This is h, and of course d is d. And it asks you to figure out what is the ratio of h to d. So if I was doing the ratio, and let me get a different color so that, of h to d, okay, I would say that it is pi d over 4 to d. Okay, well, I don't see that in the answers. Okay, remember that if you have a ratio of like 3 to 7, that's the same thing as 30 to 70, which is the same thing as 33 to 77, you can take a ratio that exists, and as long as you multiply it by a common multiple, you should, well, it's still the same ratio. So if I want h to d, I'm looking for something that you'll notice, first of all, that none of these have d in them. Okay, so looking at this pi d over 4 to d, I can multiply both sides by 1 over d, because none of those ratios, or in all of those ratios, the d has been canceled out. And I've got pi over 4 to 1. Okay, and then I can, I still don't see that over there. I'm going to multiply both sides times 4. Okay, that would give me pi to 4. H to d has a ratio of pi to 4, and let's go look at that. Pi to 4 is, in fact, one of the answers. The answer is C. The ratio of the height of that rectangle to the diameter of the circle is pi to 4.